Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and I have not yet done a review on my Google Pixel. However, a little while ago, I did do a full review on the Google Pixel XL. Now, with that being said, I'm not doing a separate review for the Pixel. However, I'm going to do a comparison between the Pixel and the XL because there are a few differences. Now, right away to start with those differences, you have your display being different, you have your battery being different, and then also the price. Now, the Google Pixel starts at the base model for $650, and then you bump up to the Pixel XL. The base model is $770, so a $120 difference. That seems quite steep, actually. So let's go ahead and take a look at both these devices and see if the $120 difference is worth it. The Google Pixel has a 5-inch display, whereas the Pixel XL has a 5.5-inch display. And of course, with the display size difference comes in actual size and weight difference between the two devices. Now, taking a look at the back of both these devices, I want to go ahead and line up the bottom left-hand corner so you can kind of take a look at something. So here's just a look at the size difference between the two of it protruding out and the height difference as well. Now, I want you to make note of the location of that fingerprint scanner. Now, I'm going to go ahead and line the top of the two devices up, just about. So the top's just about lined up. Notice that that fingerprint scanner is essentially in the exact same spot when the top is lined up. Now, also, I want to go ahead and, with the tops lined up, slide it over to the side here, and you'll also notice that the volume rocker and power button are still aligned, so that extra size in terms of height is coming down towards that bottom chin. And I do have a slick wrap on both of these in case you are interested, with some nice colorful G's. I'll post a link below if you're interested. And with the alignment of those buttons and that fingerprint scanner, it's a little bit different of an experience when you have it in your hand. So to give you an idea, when I have the regular Pixel in my hand, the power button is very easy to access because my thumb essentially rests on that power button, so I don't have to adjust at all. Now, with that being said, when I flip it over and show off the fingerprint scanner, my pointer finger rests above that fingerprint scanner. So I just need to drop it down just a little bit to actually use it. Now, with that being said, with the Pixel XL, my thumb rests below that power button. So I just need to reach up just a little bit to reach that power button, whereas on the back, that fingerprint scanner, my pointer finger rests essentially right on top of it. So it's very easy to access, especially when you're using this swipe down gesture with your fingerprint scanner. Now, both devices have a Super AMOLED display. However, the Pixel's 5-inch display is 1080p, whereas the XL is 1440p, as you can see in this YouTube video. Now, if I go ahead and just play this YouTube video and let this run, I do have to say the Pixel's 1080p display is a very good 1080p display, and then the Pixel XL's display is exceptional as well. One of the best out there. Maybe not quite as good as the S7 or S7 Edge's display, but still one of the best ones out there. Now, with that being said, there is a little bit of a quality difference depending on the type of content you're looking at, just the clarity of it overall. Now, I do want to mention that with the bigger display, you would kind of expect to be able to see more content on your device, and I want to talk about that right now. To explain what I mean about information on the screen, so when I swipe up in the app drawer, you'll see I have a 5x6 grid. If I swipe over to Google Now, you'll see it shows the exact same stocks, exact same amount of information. And then if I, let's say, for example, want to jump into settings, I can go ahead and do so. Let me minimize suggestions, and you'll see it goes all the way down to notifications and cuts it off on both of them. Now, you may want to change this because of the display size on the Pixel XL, and this is kind of where Android 7.0 Nougat shines, where you can change the size of your screen essentially on the device. Now, if I go to display size, I can minimize it. You can make it a little bit bigger as well, but I can change it down to small. And for me, on the Pixel XL, this is great. It adds a little bit more, so you'll see when I have settings both up, you see a lot more content on the screen. Now, because the device is a little bit larger and the screen is larger on the XL, it makes it better to do this change. For me, I do not want to make this smaller on the regular Pixel. It's just too small for me because of that 0.5-inch difference. So when I bump it down to small, it's just too small. These buttons down here are a little bit too small. Icons on the home screen are smaller as well, so you can kind of take a look and see a little bit of a difference right there. So for me, after using the display size in small on the Pixel, I found that I needed to go back up to default just because of the display being a little bit smaller. So you can actually take advantage of the screen size on the Pixel XL with that setting. Now, another difference is the battery life. Now, the Pixel XL has a 3450 milliamp hour battery, whereas the Pixel has a 2770 milliamp hour battery. And of course, you can fit a bigger battery in a larger device. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of my battery stats, and I want to talk about them because overall battery life is better on the Pixel XL, but not as much as I would have thought because battery life on both of them are very good. So you'll see here about 4.5 hours screen on time. This one is 4 hours, but this is with heavy listening to music. Swiping over again, you'll see 5 hours and 20 minutes. This was probably the most I've gotten. 4 hours and 40 minutes on the Pixel. You'll see 5 hours and 4 minutes on the Pixel. You'll see 5 hours on the Pixel XL. Swiping over again, you'll see 4 hours and 25 minutes. So on average, with the regular Pixel, I get about 4 hours and 40 minutes average, whereas about a 5 hour average on the Pixel XL. So about a 20-minute screen on time difference. And that's really not too much, and that is honestly great for both. On average, with Android devices, I get a little over 4 hours of screen on time average, and this is above average with both. Easily get through the day with both devices, so it's not as big of an issue as I would have thought it would have been. And of course, Google has came out with the Daydream app along with their Daydream View headsets, which I have an unboxing on, and in terms of quality, it looks better on the 1440p display as expected, only a little bit, but it does look better. I go more in depth on this in my unboxing. I'll link to that down below. So if that's something you are considering, just make note that it's going to look a little bit better, and battery life's a little better on the XL as well. I do get a lot of questions about this, but the cameras on both devices are the exact same. Software is the exact same. Performance is the exact same. So check out my Pixel XL review if you want to hear my thoughts on that. Okay, just want to give some final thoughts on the Google Pixel and Pixel XL. Now, personally, I prefer the Google Pixel XL. Now, I do like a little bit bigger display. The added screen quality is a little bit better for me. And of course, a little bit extra battery life is nicer as well. But to me, I definitely just prefer the bigger display. Now, if you're someone that does actually prefer a smaller display and a smaller device that fits in your hand, this is still a great option. I mean, the display is still great. It's 1080p, but it's still a very high quality 1080p display. And you really don't sacrifice that much battery life. Now, personally, to me, when it comes to price and you factor in price, it is not worth $120 extra for the Pixel XL, actually. It's really not. I'm a little disappointed that Google had priced them so differently. I would say, to be fair, maybe about $50, $60 difference in terms of price. So with that being said, if price isn't an option, I would prefer to go with the Pixel XL, but if it is, definitely don't rule out the Pixel because it still is a great device. But anyways, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed my comparison between the Pixel XL and the Google Pixel. Lots more to come, so click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.